What's up, everybody? Um, Welcome back. This is an unusual video. A lot has gone on within the past week in pro wrestling. Unfortunately, this is the norm for pro wrestling, but it's still never less shocking anytime it happens. So, last week we had two pro wrestlers pass away. Legendary Terry Funk, who passed away Wednesday. And the crazy thing is, I remember I told y'all in the group text about that one on Wednesday. And then, you wake up the next day, go to work, do your daily duties for the day. You come home and expect to just chill and relax for that day. And the next day, probably around, I don't want to say like 5 or like 6 p.m., you told me about this news we're gonna discuss during this video, because you stay up to date on like the Twitters, the socials, and shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't really, so I didn't know.
Well, what happened was we were on here, we were gaming, and I just happened to look down at my phone and see Rico send a message saying you hear the news, and I said, what news? So I sent the message, then I went on Twitter and happened to see the shocking outcome.
And so Thursday last week we had the news that Bray Wyatt, Windham Rotunda, passed away at the young age of 36, man. When you told me that news, I ain't had no words. I was just sitting here for a minute, just sitting for a while, and then probably like 2 or 3 minutes after that news, we all got off the party chat and whatever, and just went on about the day. I ain't really do nothing that day.
Well,
just laid down probably.
I mean, in a state of shock, there's not much you can really do. Trying to process something like that, I mean, you just seen the guy, February, March, and pro wrestlers like we had this conversation. I don't know, it had to be all in or something. I can't remember. We were talking about how wrestlers are superheroes and they built like superheroes. Bray isn't the most physically built guy, but he still was a big guy, like a superhero-esque on a body build, and you just don't see guys that age, getting sick, and dying that quick. I mean, honestly, what happened to him can happen to anybody. It's just you don't, for every rumor that came out about why he wasn't, working, wrestling any matches, didn't wrestle WrestleMania and all this stuff, and then when you get this news, it's like it just deflates you, because it's so unexpected, and it's like, why him out of all people? You know what I mean? Like, it really ain't fair. You know what I mean?
They always seem to take the dope ones, man. That's how it typically goes, man. The people that do good in the world, they always take, and the ones that do the stupid shit and fucked up shit, they always seem to live sometime the longest. But if you're looking for like the sort of like details or stuff like that, I'm not gonna discuss no details until how he passed away, out of respect for the family and shit like that. And that's like one of my biggest gripes with this whole little situation. Not with the Sean Ross sack because he got permission, but like with the the TMZ news that like recently came out about everything. I felt like they shouldn't have disclosed that type of shit. I don't fuck with TMZ anyway, because I feel like they only report on certain shit just to get the headline. You know what I'm saying? and I don't really see them cover nothing wrestling related. It's funny how most of these platforms and shit like that, these outlets come out around certain times, especially when it's wrestling related. Like they don't come out like when it's like how Payback is this weekend. They won't say nothing about Payback this weekend, right? They only come out for one or two reasons: either WrestleMania, the biggest event of the year for wrestling, or a death. In this case, they seem to have the same criteria and same lineup when they discuss things. So I'm not going to disclose no details. You can search on the internet for that type of shit if you want to. But this is just going to be bringing up some great moments in the career of Bray Wyatt, Windham Rotunda. Yeah, condolences go out to his family, his kids, JoJo, and all that stuff, man. Anything you want to add on top of that before we get into these moments?
No.
So, see, we agree with the same sentiments here, right? Let them report things, man. I ain't with all that.
You gotta look at it from their point of view. It's not the people who actually reporting on the stuff. The brand wants them to report the stuff. The people who put the stories out are just doing their job like anybody else. So, it is what it is. Yes, media sometimes is, they can be real cruel people to be, the race to be first. That plays a big part of things, but at the end of the day, they got to work too. So, and plus, without the media outlets giving information out, we wouldn't know what happened. Somebody could have it could have been, if it wasn't for Sean Ross Sapp or something like that putting it out, it could have been a hoax. You don't know.
I ain't talking about Sean Ross Sapp. I'm talking about.
I'm just saying
media outlets in particular.
I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, but that's all. I'm just they got a job to do too.
That's fine.
I'm just saying. Without them putting out information, we wouldn't know what happened. So, but like he said, if you want to look up information, it's there. It's been a week. I think this information just came out maybe Monday or so. So it's out there. Just if you want details, look it up. But with that being said, condolences to the family and everything. You got to feel for the kids growing up without a dad. That sucks. We kind of know a little bit about that, losing dad at an early age. So it sucks, but life just keeps moving on, unfortunately. But let's just try to make this a positive video for him.
All right, so Bray Wyatt, to me, is one of the most creative people to ever step foot in pro wrestling. Just a unique individual. And WWE put up a video either yesterday or the day before yesterday with a lot of people talking about Bray. Everybody say pretty much the same thing, how his laugh is contagious and stuff like that, infectious. Just his persona and what type of guy he was. So I encourage people to look at those type of videos or like tweets or whatever. When I wrote like some memories of Bray Wyatt, no particular order, I thought of like a few things. So first thing I want to jump off with is the Wyatt family versus the Shield. I was like monumental at that time. I think that had to be like Elimination Chamber, either 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. I believe it was. It had to be 2014 because I think it was 2014. And that match, I felt like should have went towards WrestleMania, being what both of those teams got at WrestleMania, with the Shield going up against DX and Kane, I think, and Bray Wyatt facing John Cena. But that's another moment on my list as well. Just what he was able to do with the Wyatt family, bro. If you've been watching Bray Wyatt from pre-Wyatt family, you know he was Husky Harris and the NXT before it became the NXT of the Indies as we know it now to be, or it used to be, or NXT 1.0. He was Husky Harris, a part of the NXT, like that boot camp sort of show they had back then on Sci-Fi. didn't really have a direction with the character at that point. And then I didn't watch NXT in the early stages. I don't even think we had cable to watch NXT at the time, so or the network or whatever used to come on back then. But we didn't really like get the chance to really watch like his era, Bo Dallas, Big E, Seth Rollins, and all them guys. We didn't really get to watch them coming up. All we were able to watch was like Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and Main Event. I think was jumping off at that time. So all of that stuff we was able to watch. But once you get up on the main roster, Wyatt family made an impact. Shield made an impact. In like 2014, they were like the two top factions. And then for them to come at a collision course at Elimination Chamber in 2014, that was pretty dope. Fantastic match. I thought that match should have been at WrestleMania, just because you had the top two factions going against each other. But that was a moment I enjoyed watching Bray and Wyatt family. What about you? You got anything on the matter?
So you were talking about the Husky Harris and everything. Everybody knows he was Husky Harris. Didn't really get. I mean, jumped in the Nexus and got booted out of that by I think Randy Orton, if I'm not mistaken. Went back down to FCW, NXT, honed a new character. Came up with Bray Wyatt, and at the time, when did he get called up? 13, I think, 14, one of those. Came in with a different look, because at that time it wasn't nobody that looked like him. Coming in, like a darker esque character. I mean, the darkest character at that time was still the Undertaker. So for him to come up, get called up, with Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, different look, brought a different feel to the main roster. Dude in a Hawaiian shirt, freaking straw hat. You got these two big honking, dirty, nasty looking hillbillies with them. And they just come out, with a different look. You got Daniel Bryan looking like I don't know, like a cartoon character. John Cena, obviously the superhero. The Shield was still together. The Shield, and they kind of needed a spark. The Shield was a spark too. Daniel Bryan was a spark too. But Bray Wyatt was something different coming up to the main roster. Yeah, him coming up, change of pace. Something different. Promos were fantastic. In-ring work was good too. They were just different. So we kind of needed that change of pace at the time when he debuted. Like you said, the Shield 6-man match, that was pretty good. That was a great match. I want to say him and Daniel Bryan had a pretty good match at the Royal Rumble that year, I think, right? I want to say. That was before that. That was before
we
that.
Ain't there yet, though. We'll get there. We'll get there. That's just another moment. We'll get there.
No, I'm talking about the Royal Rumble match. Wasn't the Royal Rumble before that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We'll get there.
The 2014 Royal Rumble was pretty good too. And him and Daniel Bryan, they had a bunch of good matches at the Royal Rumble too. But yeah, that was a good match.
Well, from that, let's transition.
I'm trying to think. Go ahead.
Well, from that, let's transition into WrestleMania with John Cena, Bray Wyatt's first main event, like type of not even main event, but just type big match on a big platform at a big show. And they don't get no bigger than that, right? Outside of fighting for the titles. You in a major match at WrestleMania with the top face of the company, the top guy in WWE, and John Cena. Don't really remember the match with Cena. All we remember is the finish in which Cena beat Bray Wyatt, and the whole thing was built up about John Cena's legacy and stuff like that. And I felt like Bray should have beat him because Bray was the new guy coming in, the unique character. We've seen Cena at the top spot, yeah, time after time again, and this would have been a victory for Bray to propel him to that next spot. but Bray lost. And then what? They go into Extreme Rules the next month, and I think Bray might have beat him in a steel cage or some shit, just because of they had the little kid say he had the whole world in his hands or something like that. Some crazy shit back then. But Bray got his get back at Extreme Rules. Should have beat Cena at WrestleMania. That's like one of the blimps on Bray's career there. But you can't really blame him. You got to blame creative for that one. But that was a great moment nonetheless for him to be on that bitch stage, going up against the top guy at that time, and at WrestleMania. Don't get no bigger than that unless it's for a championship. So I enjoyed that moment. Got anything to add? Okay. All right. So the next moment I would like to discuss or talk about that I enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed it. Was when Bray and Randy Orton won the tag team championships, the SmackDown titles. Even though it was short lived, it was like to build their little story or whatever. But I enjoyed their little run, like with Randy Orton. Yeah, into the Wyatt family, and then Luke Harper was seeing like all the bullshit that like he won buying Orton's bullshit pretty much. When everybody else was like Bray, Eric Rowan, they was all buying into what Orton was selling. And Luke Harper was not, And then they had that and then that transitioned into what? Them losing the titles, then Bray in another moment ending up winning the WWE Championship at Elimination Chamber. Of another fantastic match with him, Styles. I think Cena was in there. I want to say Jeff Hardy was in there. I forget who else was in there, but it was a fantastic Elimination Chamber match.
In there too.
I don't think Samoa Joe was in there. I think he was on Raw. He was at Raw at that time. You talking about the one from the next year? He was in the one the next year.
Who was on SmackDown at that time?
I don't remember.
That was a good roster too. But
yeah, that was
underrated. Ambrose probably was in there.
Yeah, probably Ambrose and maybe Ziggler, or I think Miz maybe might have been the last guy.
Miz might have been there. Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fantastic match. Underrated, as you say, very underrated time in SmackDown when it was SmackDown Live. They just had the brand.
I wouldn't say underrated. I would say was built to not succeed, but they overshadowed Monday Night Raw in my opinion. Because during that era, Dean Ambrose was the champ, so they kind of threw him on the secondary brand, and the Big Dog and Brock Lesnar all them got on the Monday Night Raw brand. And
that was the beauty of it, though. The beauty of it was like multiple people with the championships. That was the beauty. I love that part. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying that just was the recipe to build Monday Night Raw over SmackDown. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But SmackDown ended up having the better stories and better creative because we got Luke Harper to come out more of a out of his shell, quote unquote, with the Randy Orton stuff you were talking about. And then eventually Bray Wyatt won the WWE Championship for the first time ever. So yeah, that was like the peak Bray Wyatt. I think that was probably the best moment in his career, winning the world title.
And what was crazy, man? It was like for as long as Bray was there, it's like we seen everybody else with the championships. I know Bray's character didn't need a title, but he was in these big programs without having a championship, and then for him to win it, like motherfuckers, like everybody wanted him to win, even though AJ Styles is in that chamber. Everybody wanted Bray Wyatt to win for real.
I ain't gonna say I wanted him to win. I was rooting more for AJ, but I wasn't mad that Bray Wyatt won. That's what I agree with you on that. I agree with your segment, but I think some people were like, most of them was like that, because I think at the time people were like, AJ, AJ still was the champ building that whole year, and
then he lost to that Cena.
At least from my perspective, AJ was the champion the whole year, and then him lose it to Cena at the Royal Rumble, and then he's like, oh, he's gonna be directionless going into Mania. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, oh, hopefully he wins. But then Bray Wyatt, and it shocked me because Bray Wyatt ended up winning because I didn't really see him winning the title at that time. They had just come off winning the tag titles, I think, right? And then he won, and then it was like, oh, okay, cool. I wasn't really mad at that. But
I enjoyed it, man.
I do think that was the best moment of his career in WWE. Even with him being the Fiend and everything.
I enjoyed it because it's like Braves in these big moments, and he never got the chance to be the champ, and then for him to win a championship on a brand where like everybody who was over there was pretty much thrown over there, and not on an A show perhaps, and they was killing it over there, and it was just something different, like a different breath of fresh air. Very good to watch at that time. Then he cut that promo the Friday after winning the championship. And then that lead into him and Orton facing each other at WrestleMania, and the whole thing with that story was even Luke Harper was going to get in there. Like it should have been a triple threat with Luke Harper, Orton, and Bray Wyatt. That's how deep, like how great SmackDown was in storytelling. For Luke Harper to be almost this close to being in like one of the main core matches at WrestleMania, that lets you know how much SmackDown at that time was kicking Raw's butt. But yeah, I think that story with Randy Orton is like one of the greatest things I can remember from Bray Wyatt's career. Another thing that I enjoyed was obviously the debut of the Fiend at SummerSlam 2019 against Finn Balor. I thought that was the coldest shit that I've seen, coldest and creative shit I've seen in wrestling in a long, long time. Just how everything was shot with that character. The song was dope. I had the lantern of the old Bray Wyatt. You know what I'm saying? Um, the way it was shot, the flickering lights and shit. It wasn't necessarily about the wrestling moves, it's all about the character. And for him to bring that character with the horror elements to like something in wrestling that we ain't seen in a very, very long time. Dude was just he was out of this world when it comes to creativity. And so much stuff he put into his work. I think that Fiend character, I love that Fiend character. That character was so fucking dope. And we know what happened to it. Unfortunately, when he ran into Goldberg at what they called it back then, Super Showdown, right? For the Universal Championship,
Yeah.
he lost. I was pissed, but before that, you had a match with Finn. He beat Finn, then he wins the championship from Seth Rollins. He won it in Saudi Arabia, right? Beat Rollins for it. Then he had the match with Daniel Bryan, the strap match at the Rumble. That's 2 matches with Daniel Bryan at the Rumble, right? Crazy.
Both were very good too.
Yeah. Then that was the last bit U.S. stadium, like U.S. match he had for the Universal Championship. He lost it the next month at Saudi. It's Goldberg, which was always the wrong. Which I don't care how they want to shape it or whatever. It was always the wrong move. Never should have happened. It's a lot of never should have happens with Bray in his career. You know. I enjoyed that Fiend run. That Fiend run was magnificent. Magnificent. You'll never see another character like that ever. At least I don't think you will. That creative and that much shit built into that character, much care for that character outside of that loss to Goldberg. You don't think you'll see that ever again. But I enjoyed that moment. Anything you want to add?
I mean, even the Firefly Funhouse was pretty good. It wasn't. I mean, at the time, um, again, there was nothing like that on TV. Just like a spinoff, kids sitcom, but element horror. I mean, horror. Element of horror films in it. So it was pretty well done.
Yeah.
You never seen anything like that. Then the him stuff with him and Alexa Bliss, that was okay.
It was fine. It was cool when it first started, but it teetered after a while. I wasn't a big fan of the whole her stealing his gimmick type of thing, but it was cool at first. Next moment, these ain't in no particular order, but next moment was that I enjoyed was the moment at Raw 30 with him and Undertaker. I enjoyed that moment. Just with the whole thing with LA Knight and Taker just throwing LA Knight to Bray and Bray delivering Sister Abigail to LA Knight. And then Undertaker just whispering in Bray's ear. And then that tweet Bray put out after that, something he said he'd take to his grave, he'd never let out. So I enjoyed that moment. I thought that moment was pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, even before that, after him getting released, after WrestleMania 37, I want to say.
That was 38. 38. Night 2 against Orton.
38?
No, 37. 37. Yeah, 37. 37.
38 was something
Night
different.
2, 37.
With him getting released and then coming back, throughout the summer, Triple H took over and they do, the White Rabbit stuff. That was perfectly done. People getting online deciphering the QR codes and stuff. It was like a more interactive element to the, even if it was 2 minutes or something, an interactive element to the WWE show that we haven't gotten. So like the things he done that we talked about, like at them moments in time, like 2014 was something different. You know what I'm saying? Like he was a new character, something different we hadn't seen before. Like he's not quite the Undertaker, but he was like a piece of the Undertaker, like a dark character. Then him going along down the road, then becoming the Fiend, becoming something completely different. Undertaker was never like that. Undertaker was, he was a dark character, but nothing like this is more horror-esque. You know what I mean? The Fiend was more horror-esque. And then come down to 2022, he comes back and he got this QR code thing, interactive, making the fans go out on social media, look up this stuff and see what the messages are and decipher them, and then comes back at Extreme Rules, blows the roof off the joint. That was a fantastic moment there. Because people had, he wrongfully got released in everybody's mind. Like they could have done more with him, and at that moment he comes back and blows the roof off the joint, and he still was on. I say he was still on to something. It just got cut short with his health and everything, and now his passing. So we will never really get to see what he was thinking with the Uncle Howdy stuff. We only got the one program out of it, the one match with LA Knight. I'm not gonna say it was the best thing, but it wasn't bad in my opinion. It was something different. But everybody has their own opinion about it. But we just never got to see where we go. But yeah, even then, even coming back then, it was fantastic. I'd say.
Yeah, that him returning was like the next moment that I enjoyed. It's just that pop he got when he came back that night, and at the end of the night, I was at work at the end of like when that happened, and you had texted me and stuff like that, and I had seen like the clips on Twitter of him coming back. It was pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
For that lantern to pop and him take that mask off, and the crowd go fucking ape shit. And then just like you said with the QR codes, man, the QR codes are so cool, man. I was listening to them like the reviews of them and how like each QR code a link to like a certain area and a fucking city that you don't even know about at a particular street. They have a name like with him like Rotunda or something, like just some little shit, like it's like little minor shit like that you would never think that can like link to something. That just shows you how creative this dude was, bro. Like for someone to think about something in a state in a city inside the state that you wouldn't know, like Delaware or some shit, and then you get like an old building with something that links to his return. He was out of this world, man, when it came to creativity. So yeah, that Extreme Rules moment was definitely up there for me for sure. Last moment I want to talk about is the moment with him and Daniel Bryan. You mentioned it earlier. I told you we'd get there. I wanted to save this one for last because I felt like this was like Daniel Bryan gave him his best match that Bray Wyatt's ever had at the Royal Rumble 2014. But a few weeks prior to that, which I think was like one of the greatest moments in pro wrestling history, not just Monday Night Raw history, in pro wrestling history, when him and Daniel Bryan were going against the Usos in the steel cage match. I think the date is either January 13th, 2014 or January 20th, 2014, depending on how WB got it. But that night in that cage, when Daniel Bryan, when they lost that match to the Usos and Bray Wyatt is going to punish Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan, he's about to give Daniel Bryan to Sister Abigail, and Daniel Bryan pushes him off, and the crowd goes crazy. Crazy. And I know Daniel Bryan said he don't remember it, but that moment when he's just going with the yes, it's like very slow and the crowd's going with him. And he's about to deliver the Psycho knee, what they call it now, to Bray Wyatt. I think that's like one of the greatest moments in pro wrestling history that Bray Wyatt was a part of. And then for the lead to the match at 2014, which I think is his best match he ever had at the Royal Rumble with Daniel Bryan. I think that's the cherry on top. How about you? What you think of that moment?
I mean, you said everything. I mean, nothing for me to say.
Yeah.
One of the greatest moments that'll always be replayed. Um, yeah, man. I mean, ain't much else I can really say. I mean, probably his. I ain't gonna say his best moment, but one probably top five. I mean, I guess anytime you win a world championship is probably the best moment. But yeah, it's definitely up there. But one of the greatest. It'll always be replayed. You know what I mean? Like if you were watching wrestling at that time, you'll always remember that moment. Anytime you mention Bray Wyatt, you'll probably mention Daniel Bryan. Probably Daniel Bryan's probably his biggest rival. I probably would say. Um, yeah. If not him, John Cena, but it can go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more moments than this though, but that's what I can come with off the top of my head. I know there's some stuff with Wyatt family, Daniel Bryan, and CM Punk that's out there that's pretty dope. Bray and Undertaker, dope to me. And like some unfortunate shit, we didn't. Bray versus Dean Ambrose. I thought they had a pretty good thing going on for a while there. They had a pretty good series of matches. I think they fought in the Hell in a Cell. They fought at Survivor Series, stuff like that, man. So I think there's more moments with Bray Wyatt, but Bray Wyatt will be missed, bro. Yeah, I take him far too soon. He's way ahead of his time. But he was a joy to watch while he was here, entertaining people. So that's what this was about.
You want to do top 5 matches?
Wait, right now?
Mm-hmm.
Or Bray Wyatt?
Mm-hmm. You can just go off memory. You don't need no research for that. Just your personal opinion.
Daniel Bryan, matching against Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble.
What name are you putting in order or?
No, I ain't gonna put them in order.
I'll probably put mine in order.
I won't put them in order. I'll say that's probably, if I had to, that's probably his best match. Chamber, WWE Championship win. The triple, the 6-man with the Shield. I'll say WrestleMania 30 with John Cena. I was gonna say 31, but I'll go WrestleMania 31 with Cena. 30 with Cena. And I'll put us kind of tough, man. I guess I'll throw his Firefly Funhouse match with Cena up there too. Well, no, I'll put the match up there with Dean Ambrose in the Hell in a Cell.
Okay, I would go number 1. Probably the Shield versus Wyatt family. Number 1. Number 2, probably him and Daniel Bryan, the Royal Rumble, 2014. Number 3, number 3, him and Goldberg definitely.
Who?
The Fiend and Goldberg definitely.
That's number 3?
No, I'm just kidding. Probably the tag team match with Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt versus the Usos. That's got to be in there just because of the moment. I'll put it. I'll put the chamber match up there when he won the title. I don't think him winning the title from Seth Rollins was really that good. I'll do the strap match with Daniel Bryan at Royal Rumble. I think it was 2021 or 2020, one of those two.
It's 2020, I think.
I'll do that one. That's pretty good.
All right. Well, I can come up with a better list later, but you got me off the rip, so I just went down.
Off the script. No, I'm just.
But nonetheless, this was a video to remember Bray Wyatt, man. Hope you enjoyed it. And guys, take care, man. We will see you guys in the next video.